Well, hello, and welcome to the Fostering a Love of Reading with Authentic English Content from Highlights webinar. I am Tessa Rusick-Muliani Hunt, the Marketing Manager for the international team at Highlights, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. For 75 years, children across the globe have discovered a love of reading with the stories in our magazines, books, and internationally, our digital reading platform, Highlights Library. Our goal with Highlights Library is to create a joyful learning experience and grow a love of reading that includes language learning. We want to share stories that make children smile with delight and that have meaning that stays with the reader long after the details of the stories are forgotten. I am joined by a panel of Highlights International team with members to tell us more about Highlights Library and how it can help teach English skills. Andy Shafran, Vice President of International, Vandana Agrawal, Senior Director of International, Karen MacGilvray, Senior Editor. Vandana and Andy, you've seen Highlights Library develop over the years. Can you tell us about the library? What is it?
Thanks, Tessa. It's great to join you and everyone here today. The Highlights Library product is pretty simple, actually. To help kids develop a love of reading, they have to have access to lots of different reading material of many different topics and interests, so that way they are interested in pulling the knowledge out of the platform and the library itself.
That's great. And I'm happy to share, first of all, I'm happy to join today and to share with you one of my favorite topics, which is Highlights Library. And I can talk a little bit about some of the specifics of the platform. So we really are a comprehensive reading digital platform. We have nearly 2,700 books on the library. They're all leveled. They're all written in authentic English, so they're very real and very immediate for children as they read. We provide teacher resources on a teacher site. We have all sorts of activities for children. There are ELL activities that are really focused on strengthening and developing kids in a very real and a very natural way of English acquisition. And then we have motivational tools that are really designed to get kids to read just that one extra book. We really believe that it's all about reading and engaging in content, not necessarily teaching English. It's a very fine distinction, but it's really important for us that kids come back, they read, and they get excited about what they're engaging in. Karen, do you have anything else that you might add about Highlights Library?
Sure. I guess I just add that the library is a really robust resource for a very diverse collection of stories. We have fiction and nonfiction at all levels, from very young for our newest readers to older, more experienced readers. We cover a great selection of themes from friends and family to travel and culture, to sports, to science and technology. We have a few special collections within the library. One, for example, that focuses on social emotional learning, themes like perspective taking, conflict resolution, social awareness. We have a science collection that covers topics like ecology and biology and the physical world, which is designed specifically for our youngest readers. But I think what I like most about the books in our library is that no matter the topic focus, all present relatable characters and narrators that really treat children with respect and sort of serve to guide them through routines in daily life. And especially our books bring authentic English voices to our ELL audience.
Thank you, Karen. So what do you mean by authentic voices? And can you explain a little bit to us what is authentic English content, Karen?
Sure. So authentic English content is English content that is designed for native speakers versus content that is designed for language learners, for language instruction. Authentic texts expose English learners to real world language, expressions, structures, vocabulary that native speakers use every day. And it also provides a window for native culture, into native culture, things like celebrations and traditions, but also just everyday American life.
Okay, so why do you think that it is important to have the authentic English content?
So in a classroom, students build up a reserve of what's called passive knowledge. Teachers present sheltered language, concepts and structures for practice in the classroom, and students have an opportunity to practice that in class in a controlled setting. And then when students are exposed to that content and that instruction, these elements in a real world setting and through authentic texts that present those real world settings and that real world language, that passive knowledge is then transferred and activated into real learning and acquisition. And it's this transfer process that's really essential for successful language learning. Highlights Library presents transfer opportunities with these engaging authentic texts for children because they can experience them in low stress environments. They can explore topics that they like and really see stories of real world situations where this language is being used. We can make the language more accessible as well for these learners by providing native speaking audio. This is something that we do in all of our books on the library. And it's really essential to guide the child's reading experience and to model that native pronunciation and native intonation. We create the audio with an ELL expert to be sure that things like pacing and pronunciation and intonation, articulation are all adjusted to meet the needs of a learner. And text is highlighted at the word or at the sentence level to make it easier for those learners to follow along. So it's authentic text, but presented in a way that the newer learner can really access it and understand it. The library also offers some really fun and engaging animations and illustrations that further provide that context and comprehension. And then finally, we have Readers Plus. Readers Plus activities also help provide practice by providing specific speaking, listening, and thinking and writing activities in the platform directly.
Thank you. Readers Plus sounds great. What is that and how does Readers Plus help language learners?
So I can share a little bit about Readers Plus. They are a series of activities that we just recently added to Highlights Library that are really designed to round out the English language acquisition tool and to really focus on speaking, listening, and thinking, very much in that natural way rather than something that is a little bit forced or inauthentic. There's an easy way to identify these books in Highlights Library. We put a large green icon on the cover, and hopefully that will encourage children to engage in these activities and really deepen and strengthen what they're learning from each of the titles. These really are designed to ask a child to repeat a sentence that they hear from the book so that they're practicing their pronunciation, their speed, their pace, things like that. There are critical thinking questions. So how does a child learn past just a multiple choice question that's asking them to recall details from the book? Can they apply what they've read to instances in their life, which we think is really important because I think it helps make that real life connection. And then finally, we also have listening skills, which is asking the child to listen to a sentence and then take a mix of words and rearrange them into the proper grammar and the proper order for a sentence and structure. So again, things that really the child is exposed through the book, but taking that and saying, how do we really extend that learning? I also want to add that I think it's important that the thinking questions that we've included in Readers Plus also serve another purpose, which is really to round out the 4 modes of English language learning, which is writing. In these questions, we're asking children to compose their own answers. We're asking them to pull from their reserves of their experience, their past vocabulary exposure, to really show where they are in their English language learning journey across speaking, listening, reading, as well as writing.
Yeah, the Readers Plus activities were added to Highlights Library really as a response from many educators and teachers around the world. We were hearing a lot of requests for teachers to enable student learning activities directly based off of the content within Highlights Library. I'm really proud of the way it turned out, and we're seeing a lot of usage. Vandana, would you mind sharing a couple examples?
Oh, absolutely. All right, let me share my screen. Okay.
Listen and read, then record. He gives. Ready, go.
He gives. Yay.
She gives. Ready, go.
She gives.
Great job.
I'm batting
He
1,000.
helps. Ready, go.
He helps. That's good. I'm actually glad that you get to see a little bit of the variation that, occurs as a child is learning English. So we do give children opportunities that are at different levels, and we think it's important to show that. So I'm going to stop sharing because I think you guys get an idea of what it's like. There's a lot of opportunity there for children to improve, to learn about where they are, and to get that instant feedback that really helps them, I think, go forward and learn more.
That's great. Thank you so much for showing us. So how can teachers use Readers Plus?
I think there are a lot of ways that teachers can use Readers Plus. And I think one of the most powerful ways is they get a test of how the child is really doing in a natural way. They're seeing how they're responding to additional information. And the nice thing is they're able to review a lot of this information through their reporting dashboard. They're able to hear the child's recording. They can see how they did on the listening activity, and they're able to review the child's thinking question answers. So they can see where the child might be struggling with vocabulary. They can leave commentary, where the child might be struggling with pronunciation. There's a lot of ability to use those data points and that information alongside their other exposure to the child's English language level to really form that comprehensive view of where a child stands in their language learning progress.
That's great. Thank you, Vandana. Well, everybody, we hope that this webinar has been informative about how Highlights Library can help your children in your part of the world discover a love of reading that include language learning. This summer, Highlights Library is getting new features and enhancements. We cannot wait to share the updates we've been working on, including new stories and more Readers Plus activities. See you this summer.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.